friends. Welcome back to another episode of JoyPad podcast. I did it. I did it.
That's the true challenge of opening an episode.
I'm Megan, as always, and I'm joined by my fellow co-host Pinto, Fleming, and Tom. You are not, you're last but not least. I am.
Yes.
I don't know what to talk about because I hate introing things. So, Pinto, how are you doing? What are you playing, and what are you drinking?
I'm doing good. Today I have a selection of 3 beverages for whatever reason. I have the finest of Northeast Pennsylvania's tap water. I have some wild cherry Pepsi because domesticated cherries are just not good enough for Pepsi company. And I also have some orange juice. There's little cups of orange juice that you used to get at athletic events. I have 4 dozen of those in my fridge because we got them for free. And I love orange juice, so it works out.
Okay. Orange juice is delicious.
What have I been playing? Well, I'm going to speak for mostly everyone on this podcast, even Megan included, because after we signed off last week, we were trying to figure out what to play, as we do, and none of us were feeling very enthusiastic about our usual choices. And Fleming went on Steam and said, guys, there's this free game right now. It's an early access. It looks like an RTS, so let's try it out. It's called War Selection, which...
It's a killer name.
Yeah, it's the worst name. Tom, would you like to say what you think about the logo real quick?
The logo is a somewhat tattered red strip meant to be in the shape of a banner with white text in a Times New Roman font that simply says War Selection. That's it.
Yeah,
it is the worst logo ever applied.
They obviously have not
game.
hired their graphic artist yet.
Yeah, and so at the time of this recording,
That's as good as it gets.
we've been playing this for a week now, and it's really good, but also infuriating at times. Just it's in early access. We did a whole episode about early access and alphas and betas. To be fair, for an early access game, it's amazing. It's really good for an early access game. And we have derived a wonderful new quote from it, which is "Dabamna," which is what the workers say. And that is serious.
It's like the equivalent of a Zug Zug from Warcraft.
Yeah.
That is actually all I've been playing. So I'm going to pass it along to Fleming. And what are you drinking? How are you feeling? Have you been playing anything besides War Selection?
I have. First, I am drinking the finest water from central Pennsylvania. And aside from selecting wars with you fine gentlemen and a lady, I have almost finished Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor. I'm very close to finishing that game. I actually could go to the last boss, but it's like, if you go to the last boss, it's irreversible and you can't go back. And I'm like, oh, so I guess I gotta do all the side quests first. So I have a few more things to do there, but then I am done. I don't know what difficulty I'm playing on. I thought I was playing on a hard difficulty, but the game got really easy really fast. So I have been just blazing through it since hitting level 30 or so. I'm level 42. I know, Tom, you played a little bit of that.
Yeah, I was going to say, here's the thing. You're good at video games. I played that game and got stopped because it got too hard, and I just wasn't interested in fighting 5,000 generals at the same time all the time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I've even, I forget where it was, what place, but there, in that game, you're supposed to I'll describe it as break down their army. So you kill off war chiefs, so you get down to just fighting 1 or 2 in the overlord when you attack, not all of their officers and the war chiefs, and then finally the overlord. And I was like, I really don't want to do all this. So I just decided to attack with my 4 assault tank guys. I forget what they're called, ogres or whatever, the equivalent of an ogre. And we attacked and we destroyed them. So it is, as soon as I got stuck on the first Nazgul fight where you have to really counter. If you don't counter, and I had really not been countering up to that point, but the first fight, it was nonstop. They basically do a move where they're, across the arena from you and would charge up and hit you, and you had to block it. If you didn't block it, you get hit. There's, it's basically unstoppable. And there's like 4 of them that you have to fight at a time. So that was tough. But after that, I was like, oh, that's how you counter. I figured it out a little better, and I started to kind of just blaze through the rest of the game. So I've gotten everything done, but like a couple missions with the Balrog and a couple other missions. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been fun to play a game, 1, for under $5 when I got it, and 2, it's been fun to play like a kind of adventure game. That's what I was looking for. And since I was able to get it for so cheap, I was like, yeah, I'll try it out. So I've been playing that aside from War Selection, and it's been very good.
I just kind of wonder, you mentioned the countering, and I know I had some issues with pulling off all of the different kind of counters and dodges and special moves. Like it's very multitasking heavy with kind of knowing what button to hit when. And I played on the PlayStation 4, so I just wonder if it's a little bit easier to pull off some of the keystrokes or executions on the PC.
I actually got very frustrated because on the PC in particular, you're using your keyboard and mouse to do everything, of course. But you use your left and right mouse buttons sometimes to counter moves, depending on the type of move that's coming at you. And with a mouse, they show a mouse icon when you're supposed to counter it. So I guess it's not the hardest difficulty. It might be the second hardest, because I think the hardest doesn't show any, like, what you're supposed to use button-wise. But the problem is that the mouse will be all white, but then whatever key you're supposed to press will be marked as black. So, like, your left mouse button is black, your right mouse button is black. That doesn't respond right for me. I always think the white one's the right one to press. So like there were multiple times where I was perfectly ready to counter, the guy's execution of me or whatever, and I would press the white one. And I would get so mad because I would just work so hard to get to that point, all only to, get killed, but then also not realize. That's my biggest complaint. I know in the PlayStation there was some problems with something like that too, I think. I read it on Reddit.
I don't know.
3 years ago. I got used to it. As soon as I figured out, okay, always look for the black button, it got a lot easier.
I think I'm just bad at games. So.
Yeah, it is a very intensive, like, respond very quickly. But like I said, I think I'm not playing on the hardest difficulty, so I see the move that I'm supposed to like do to block the attack or whatever, and I'm like, oh, I gotta press E right now. I gotta press the left mouse button, whatever. I have to use spacebar because it's not counterable.
Did any of you guys play the Spider-Man game?
The new one?
Yeah, on PlayStation.
Yeah.
Nay.
It's a similar, like, I went into that game, played that, and it's a very similar kind of dodge counter kind of system where there's enemies that you can only dodge, or certain enemies you have to wait for them to counter so you can get on the right side of them and beat them up.
Yeah, so I played one of the original Spider-Man games. I forget, it was back on like PlayStation 2 maybe. It was a long time ago. I can't even remember what year, so at least 15 plus years ago. And it reminded me a lot of that, especially in the first part with Minas Ithil, which is, the Gondor city. You're jumping around rooftops and there's, battles occurring below you or whatever with Gondor soldiers. And then it was really cool. I actually really liked that. It felt very much like I was, the equivalent of Spider-Man, going across, like going from skyscraper to skyscraper on webs and everything. So it felt very similar to that. I've been enjoying it. It made me really want a like a World War II Stalingrad kind of feel, where like you basically play as like a sniper or something. I thought it kind of reminded me of something like that. And I was like, I really love to look for that. So that's the next thing I'm going to look for if I decide to do another adventure game, some kind of World War II adventure game, like the old Medal of Honor games, if you remember those.
Oh yeah,
similar concept.
Have you played Sniper Elite?
No, I have not played Sniper Elite.
I think those are, if I remember right, those are kind of set in that time period.
Yeah.
Of course, you do play as a sniper, but it's very realistic kind of sniping.
They're super involved.
It's a good game.
Yeah. So yeah, I want to look for a new game because I'm almost done that, but we've also found War Selection, which is taking up so much of our time.
Oh yeah, those
So-
games. Before we jump to Tom, I just want to say about War Selection. You can have up to 30 players in a game. We've played 10v10s.
Yes, we
It's
have.
ridiculous. I
I
think
our
that
longest game's 2 hours.
I think that might change when the game gets out of early access. I hope, or maybe they'll
Yeah.
have it like an option. Like I don't want to play with that many players. Hopefully,
That would be ideal.
because like
Yeah.
you can have a quick game of War Selection when people just rush Axemen or Spearmen and come kill you, and it's frustrating. But if you get into a long macro game, you're looking at an hour-long game most likely.
Easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's frustrating because you'll sit down to play games, and typically in a competitive game you're gonna be able to play 3 or 4 games, but like when your games are an hour plus, you might not even get 2 in, depending on the time you start and when you want to get off. So
Yeah.
that's the biggest challenge. And like there's been cases where the map is just so big. I actually played
Yeah.
I played a game. It was an 8v8, but I was in the bottom far left, and a guy built a wonder in the far right. And just to build my heavy tanks and get them to his base took like 12 to 14 of the 30 minutes or whatever he needed. Yeah, and it's very frustrating because like I was obviously the best player in the game, not trying to toot my own horn, just
Toot it.
saying, "Woo, I was the best
Pat
player."
yourself on the back there.
You know, if it was like StarCraft, my score would have been much higher. So like than anyone else's. So like I could win, but just getting my heavy tanks through all the mountains on those maps, you know, and you all have dealt with that, was incredibly frustrating. So
Yeah, we
Yeah.
haven't talked a whole lot about it, but one of the most interesting things to me about War Selection is that at least in this stage, the maps are very heavily procedurally generated, whereas
mhm.
a lot of RTS games otherwise are very standardly organized.
Yeah.
And you'll learn the map feel, you'll understand where all the resources are. War Selection is you could have a great start and all of the materials you need, you're right nearby, you're right near a water base, you can go fishing for all of your food, you're great. Or you could start and not know where any of your resources are except for the standard bushes that everyone starts with to pick berries from.
And then you
Yeah.
get
You know.
attacked by boars.
For those
Yes.
we talked about in our first episode, where it was just the 3 of us. Sorry, Megan. We talked
Whatever.
about we talked about Age of Empires, and that's the
Aw.
only other game I can think of recently that I know of that was procedurally generated to the point that you don't know what the map's going to look like. You have an idea. You're going to have a metal near you. You're going to have a stone near you, and you're going to have berries near you. In that case. This game has a similar concept, but I think it's even more random. So you don't even have a metal close by necessarily, and the trees can block your metal, for example. So your
Yeah.
close metal, you know, might be like around a whole set of trees. So your close metal might be really far. So that's been a problem. But you know what? And I think we all would probably agree for an alpha game, it's been actually really good. So
Yeah.
highly recommend. You know, and there's people playing it too. I just want to point that out.
There
So
are,
I
yeah.
thought it was going to be just the 3 of, or like, you know, just the 3 of us, and like we were just going to play it and whatever. But we were like,
And
let's
then we
jump into
ended
team
up in a
match.
10v10.
And we were in a 10v10. Yeah.
Times
so-
New Roman logo. That's we thought there was never going to be anyone else.
I
playing
hope
this
by the
game.
time this episode comes out, I hope they change the logo by then.
I would say it's unlikely. That's probably gonna be a later thing, but they are developing it still. So
Yeah.
anyway, I've spoken for a long time. We never got to Tom. Aside from War Selection, Tom, what are you playing? How are you feeling? What are you drinking?
So I am drinking a Bang Blue Raz energy drink, and in my search to discover where it's from, as we've all been calling out the locale of the delicious water that we're enjoying from time to time, I discovered that it's made by Vital Pharmaceuticals Incorporated, which makes me feel a little bit
Ooh.
concerned about my health. But I do work for a pharmaceutical company, so not that concerned.
Just enough.
Yeah, just a pinch. But I'm sure they have Top Men on it. Top Men. I've been playing a couple different things. I've been playing my mobile game, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, which actually I want to talk about for a minute, because they had an event recently. It's called Dark Visions, where each day over the course of a week, they release 2 high difficulty bosses, and you have a week to complete all of these stages. Now they stack, So if it's already been released, you can complete that on the next day. But ultimately, the most difficult 2 bosses were released this Monday, and Wednesday is when they complete maintenance on the game and take the challenges down, complete final ranking for everyone, and it's closed off. You can't compete those. You cannot complete those challenges anymore. It's really hard, especially because there's very tight mechanics to win these battles. I actually was able to pull off everything up until the 5th stage without any outside assistance, no guides, no nothing. I just understand my teams and units and items well enough to be able to do that and get good scores. And then I got to the last one, and everything I tried that made sense to me didn't work, and I got obliterated. And this is just something that kind of happens in these types of games that are heavily reliant on the concept of power creep, where new units are released over and over and over again with higher and higher and higher strength thresholds. But just the time constraint there was a little bit frustrating. Now, I finally beat it by looking at a couple different guides on YouTube and went through it and got good scores and everything was great. But I was just spending a lot of time getting everything set up. I mean, it took me 90 minutes to set up my team just to beat this, because I had to do all this meticulous research and find the exact team composition and gearing and all this kind of stuff. So it's just very tedious from that aspect, but I'm glad I got it done. I still really enjoy the game. I have been playing it. It's on its 4th anniversary. I've been playing it practically since the start. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit because that was a little bit of a tight, frustrating, but also very happy once I beat it and surpassed the constraints of time that were shackled upon me. On top of that, my wife and I are still playing The Outer Worlds. We're very close to the end. Megan, as my Outer Worlds friend, I have to ask, how far did you get in the game?
Honestly, like, because I restarted it when I heard you were playing it again, I've maybe made it a quarter of the way through the game.
Okay. Is that the furthest you've ever gotten? Or is that okay.
Yeah.
All right. I won't spoil anything then.
Okay.
But the Halcyon people, well, it's just been fun dealing with them. I'll just put it that way. They tried to make some deals, and I didn't really want to make those deals.
They actually announced today that they're releasing not new, but they are releasing DLC content, the first of 2. I think it's Perils of Gorgon, it's called. I'm not sure what the release date is, but I figured you would be excited.
I am excited because I was actually just saying to my wife earlier, oh, we're about to beat this game. I don't want to beat this game. It's so much fun. I've been completing every side quest. I look in every little chest that I find. I am an absolute hoarder in all of these kinds of games.
Yeah.
And she just laughs at me and tells me to take all the perks that increase my ability to carry things because she knows I'm gonna do it.
No, I'm the same way. Like anytime I can increase what I can carry, I do it.
You have to, otherwise you're just gonna get. I always call it getting fat. Whenever your guy has too much stuff, you're just like, oh, got fat. I can't move fast anymore.
Yeah, I grab everything.
It's the Dungeons and Dragons philosophy. If
Yes.
it's not nailed down, I will pick it up and take
it. Because why not?
Exactly. But it's such a fun world. I really like all of the characters. I really like all the different storylines that they put you through. And I am very excited that I will get to extend my time in that game.
The NPCs are great too. Like they have such personalities.
Oh yeah. There's one character that I kind of felt like, who are you again? While we were going through it. But everyone else, like Vicar Max has a deep story. Parvati has a deep story. Basically everybody. I'm trying to remember character names and I can't. Did you ever get the robot from the ship yet?
Oh yeah.
There's I'm not sure if you've gotten to this scene yet, but there was kind of like a rallying cry scene where all the characters are like, "We're with you, Captain. We'll go with you to the depths of hell." Blah blah blah, and then the robots are. He's like, "We recommend spit shine clean to get the grime out." It's like that's fantastic. Like it was just so funny. So, to anyone out there listening, and to all of you, I highly recommend The Outer Worlds for a fun RPG adventure. But once we finish that, we will probably start The Last of Us 2, which is going to make me sad and supposedly angry at the game.
I
I
can't
hope you're
believe you
not.
haven't even started it yet. Oh man, can't wait for you to get through the game.
I've been
However
playing.
you feel.
Fleming wants
But
someone
this
to agree with
game-
him.
No, that's not true. I do not expect Tom and I to have the same opinion of The Last of Us 2. I do not. I expect us to have similar opinions on certain things.
Nothing has
But
been
I do
spoiled
not
yet, right?
expect this.
No,
Tom,
spoilers.
oh, good. So yeah, I am excited to see how you respond to the game. I think as we all are. So
I am too, except I just don't want to live through the sadness.
Ugh.
Anyhow, now that I've done my obligatory rambling, Megan, how are you this fine evening? What games other than War Selection have you selected to play? And what are you drinking as your beverage of choice, which must always be asked?
Typically, yeah. So I'm doing all right. It's Friday Eve, so I'm super excited to not have to take phone calls for a couple of days. I'm drinking the wonderful Wegmans green tea again.
Is that made by a pharmaceutical company too? I'm not sure.
I don't think so. It does say product of Japan.
Really?
Yeah,
I'm very surprised by that.
as am
not
I.
know Wegmans was multinational. Okay.
Yeah. So whatever. But yeah, aside from War Selection, I picked up Paper Mario. I forgot that it came out last week on Friday.
yeah.
And Ghost of Tsushima. Both very different games. I haven't played a whole lot of Ghosts yet, or Ghost rather. I started it though, so they have different modes that you can play it in. And one of the modes that I was super excited about, I talked about last time, I think, was the Kurosawa mode. So it's all black and white, heavy shadows, bright lighting, really cool. So I started the game in that, and about halfway through, I decided to switch it to just the regular basic mode to see what the world looked like. My brain melted. The world is so vibrant, like going from the stark, version of the Kurosawa mode to just color popping, like blood reds, like golden fields, beautiful, beautiful world. It was just like super jarring to go from one to the other. I
That's
like it.
awesome.
Yeah,
I like that.
it's pretty much Assassin's Creed meets Samurai. But I dig it.
Did you ever play the old Tenchu games?
No, I didn't.
Not that those are more ninja than samurai, but I always kind of got like an Assassin's Creed vibe from that, and I'm kind of wondering
Yeah.
if it's a similar kind of deal.
Less like, at least right now, I'm sure we'll get into like stealth, like looking at the skill tree and everything. There are options for stealth moves. The fight system is pretty cool with like swords. You have like your heavy targets with shields that you have to either break, their blocks or circle around them to attack them. So different types of enemies require you to do different things. Like you'll have someone with a javelin or a spear, and you have to get around them. There's no way to block it aside from dodge. So yeah, I dig that. And Paper Mario, I've played a little bit more. They changed the battle system. Have you guys played the Paper Mario games? I know Pinto, you did.
Yeah,
I played.
I saw that they changed it to like a circle-based battle mode or something,
Yeah.
ring-based.
They call it like a puzzle that you need to solve. So the fights that I've been so far are super simple. So you have, like Pinto said, a circular map, and then your enemies will be placed on certain rings. So you have like first, second, third ring, and your goal is to line up all of the enemies so that you can get the most bang for your buck. So they give you like 2 moves to rotate the enemies where they should be, or slide the enemies from like one row to another. It's bizarre. And then you'll get a number of attacks. So you'll get a number of moves to situate everything and solve the puzzle. I do in air quotes, and then you'll have like two groups of enemies, some in like a straight line, some in like a square. So it's really just to try to eliminate your enemies as quickly and efficiently as possible. I don't know how I feel about it. It's weird.
My brow is very furrowed for all
Yeah.
the audio only listeners, and I'm pretty sure I can see the beautiful mind equations passing through my eyes, just trying to conceptualize this. I'll definitely give it a try. I really like
Yeah.
the Paper Mario games. The only one I really played was the Wii game where you went 2D and 3D,
Okay. Was
and
that
I got
Thousand Year
pretty.
Door?
I think so. I got pretty far in that one, and I don't remember anything about it except that it was fun.
I like the world. It's like super cutesy. Like the coins that you pick up, it looks like they're made out of cardboard, like they're cut from cardboard.
That's fun.
The enemy, they're all origami versions of things. Like you have origami Shy Guys and Goombas, and you'll encounter like your regular like flat Goombas that are paper like yourself. And it's like, let's make a pact not to fight one another right now because we have this villain that's like turning everyone into origami. So
I like that.
yeah.
That's kind of the same spirit of like the old Super Mario RPG too, where Bowser and Mario kind of team up. And
Yeah. Yeah, you
that's
save Bowser right in the beginning. I mean, sorry to spoil it, but you could see it
That's
from
fine.
the trailer. But they're trying to turn him into origami, and it's help me out.
Don't fold me, bro.
Exactly. They have him like folded up into a square, and he's being held by a clothespin from a rope. It's pretty awesome.
That's fun. I like it.
Yeah, it's super cutesy. I think I'll like it overall. The battle system is just different from the other games. But yeah, that's what I'm playing. I guess we'll segue into my topic. So to kind of date ourselves, today is July 23rd as I look at the calendar.
How could you do this?
The reason I do this is because today Microsoft had their Xbox Series X game showcase. I didn't get to watch the entire thing because work gets in the way, so I saw about half of it. And part of where my topic is coming from today is, if anyone watched it, at the end of it, they did one final announcement. And this makes me mad because this is going to make me want to buy an Xbox at some point in time. Maybe not right away, but they announced that they're doing a new Fable, which I figured was coming because I heard that they had renewed the trademark. And it really just got me super excited because I love the series. I never thought that I would see one again because they decided to close Lionhead Studios, which was the company that made the games. And now it's being made by Playground Studios or something. I think they're involved in Forza games. I forget who it is. It's someone weird. Yeah, the trailer is super. It's like cheesy. It's great. You see the sword that's in the ground and the sun is shining, and it's this, magical world with giant mushrooms and fairies, and you just see this fairy flying around the map, and you have that like iconic narrator voice talking about, good and evil. And then all of a sudden this giant frog jumps up and eats the fairy. And it's just like this whimsical, stupid, funny thing, and then they announce it's Fable. So I don't know if it's a remake because it's not like Fable 4. Or if they're just, restarting the series. Not that they went in succession, like you didn't have to play the first one to play the third one. But as I ramble, I was thinking about games that either you were super excited for that you found out were canceled, games you felt like maybe it should have gotten a sequel and you're disappointed it didn't, or just stories that you think there could have been more of. One that I won't touch is something that I think is near and dear to Pinto's heart, and I know it's mine.
I know what you're
I
gonna
won't say
say.
it.
I know what you're gonna
I
say.
hear that sharp intake of air. So I'll step away from that. One for me that I was disappointed that was canceled was another Lionhead game, which I was really into the stuff they did. They did Black and White on the PC, Black and White 2. Which
remember
really
watching.
brought in that whole morality-based gameplay where you were a god and you were overseeing a village and you had this giant animal creature that you would train and could either destroy your villagers or help your villagers.
Yeah.
So I really like the stuff that they did. Fable was same thing. You could be evil or you could be good. But a game that they were working on that I remember being really hyped for was BC. Um, it was this like prehistoric time-based game where you were like a caveman, evolving your people, elevating your tribe. Um, and there were dinosaurs, which I was super excited about. But that went under. They ended up canceling the project because, from what Peter Molyneux said, the creator, uh, they weren't far enough into it, and it was going to take too long to develop all of the systems because there was a lot they were doing with AI to, like, not only the other tribes that you would fight, but also the dinosaurs, where they would have like inter-dinosaur fighting, where eventually they could go extinct or kill off an entire species. Um, so Fable had, I guess, progressed further than the development for BC, so they just ultimately decided to cancel it.
That's sad.
Yeah.
I remember hearing about BC, and I think I remember being pretty hyped for that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, games like that just end up going by the wayside, which is kind of sad.
They did another thing with, I think it was maybe called Milo. It was like a child's name. It was based on the Kinect software for the Xbox, where it was this little kid that you would interact with and talk to, and it would like you would draw a shape on a sheet of paper and show it to the camera, and the child in the game would recognize the shape and what you did, and he would learn and develop. Creepy but cool. That was
and
another.
he would know your name and where you live, and then he would come find
he
you.
would learn about you. So, but that's one for me. I don't know if you guys have anything. Should I go to Pinto because I know
Go
exactly
to Pinto because
what
I think I know
talk
what
about?
I actually have several.
Ooh.
I know the one that you're thinking of. Of course. How could anyone that is a fan of horror games not be excited about a horror game that had Hideo Kojima producing it, Guillermo del Toro involved, and Norman Reedus as the main star?
Death
How?
Stranding?
How? I mean, yes, but no.
That's the game we got instead.
Yeah. I mean, no. I'm not one to complain about Death Stranding because I've never played it, but it's not what I wanted just by existing because I knew what should have happened beforehand. I, of course, am speaking about Silent Hills, which everyone, like even people that weren't into Silent Hill and horror games, were pumped about.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think I've ranted about that enough in other episodes and in general in my life. What I also would like to talk about is Mega Man Legends 3.
Oh.
There should have been a Mega Man Legends 3. Because Mega Man Legends 2 ended on a gigantic cliffhanger. Mega Man is stuck on the moon! And Roll and Tronbon are like, oh my god, we have to go get Mega Man. And that's how the game ends. And now I'm just like, I guess Mega Man is just stuck on the moon forever. Because
he lives there now.
He's the first whaler on the moon.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't think there's ever going to be a Mega Man Legends 3. Like, people have asked about it. It's been... I think Mega Man Legends 2 came out in 2002. So, it's been 18 years. I don't think it's going to happen.
Our track record is pretty good with getting things into
You're right.
Capcom, if you're listening, hear my plea. I mean, Megan, you got Shenmue 3 after how many years?
like over 15.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, I never thought that would happen.
Yeah. And you haven't even finished it, have you?
I haven't. I have a really bad problem with starting games and then another one comes out and I'm like, ooh, I need that.
Ooh, shiny new thing.
Yeah, no, that is on my list. Once I finish, who am I kidding? Anyway, I'll get to it at some point.
RPGs are hard like that, in my
Yeah.
opinion. I mean, there's so many. I mean, I've technically never beaten the final bosses of Final Fantasy 6 or 4.
Okay.
4, I think I actually got to a certain point and went, oh, this is too hard, and I just stopped.
That seems
But
to be like your mantra with some games. This
yeah,
is
I
too
mean,
hard.
they're fun, but if I stop having fun, then I stop playing them.
That's
So, in regards to Mega Man Legends, I almost feel like there was like this sort of like RPG craze around that time, and Capcom kind of picked up on it, went, yeah, man, we can capitalize on this, and they made great games in Mega Man Legend. I don't recall if I've played Mega Man Legend 2 because Pinto, as we discussed relatively recently, I thought that Mega Man Legends 2 didn't exist.
Yeah, you thought I made it up. I was like, Mega Man Legends
I
2.
did.
I was like, something about Mega Man Legends 3, and you're like, that implies that there's a Mega Man Legends 2. Tom, I have great news for you.
Yeah.
There is a Mega Man Legends 2.
I was shocked. I really was. And Mega Man Legend 1 is actually pretty short in terms of a game.
It is.
But still really, really, really fun. But one of the a game series I really like that I don't think is really picked up by a lot of other folks, which is kind of a shame, is called Front Mission. Are any of you familiar with the Front Mission series?
I know the
I'm seeing
name.
a lot of head wagging. So Front Mission is a Square Enix properties, initially by Square. It started out on the Super Nintendo, but the first installment of the game that I played was Front Mission 3 on PlayStation 1. Now, it's the sort of numbered series in the same way that Final Fantasy is a numbered series, where they have nothing to do with each other except for the sort of setting and style of game. And it's almost in the same style as Final Fantasy Tactics, where it's a grid-based strategy RPG. And what you control is a group of what are known as Vonser pilots. And a Vonser is a giant robot a la Gundam. So you, in this world, every nation on the Earth has really kind of developed and moved over to these giant robots as their source of warfare technology. There's still tanks, there's still planes, stuff like that. But for the most part, giant robots. So it revolves around conspiracy theories and secret government militaries, all stuff like that. But the characters are surprisingly deep. The combat is, to me, very, very fun. The game itself had two different paths that you could go down. So there was a lot of replayability. It had different choices you could make. And of course, what's the most fun thing in an RPG, finding super OP, awesome gear through really weird, convoluted channels. You had to buy this extra awesome suit of robot armor off of like a black market internet website in the game. And it comes with a laser sword, and it's the only way that you get a laser sword.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So you got this this robot that had a lightsaber essentially at a certain point. It's so good. So I cannot stress enough, if you like the strategy RPG games, if you like XCOM, if you like Final Fantasy Tactics, Front Mission 3, give it a try. Front Mission 4, also a very, very, very good game. I did not get as far in that game as I would like to. I just stopped at one point, but that one was for the PlayStation 2. And then at a certain point, they switched it over, and there's a game that's available on PC. I'm not sure if it's on PS4, but it's called Front Mission Advanced, I think. But it's not the same style of game. It's almost like a third-person shooter where you're still in a mech. And like I said, it's just not the same. It's not a story-driven RPG game. It's more of like an online competitive game. So I'm a little bit bummed like that, and I would really love to see Front Mission 5. There might be a Front Mission 5 on like PSP or something like that, but what I want is an actual PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 Front Mission strategy RPG game. And I would love to share a game like that with you fine friends and everyone else listening at home, because I am deeply passionate about this game of giant robots.
Yeah, anything involving giant robots, I'm all about that.
Hell yeah.
Fleming.
Yeah, what about you?
Can I mention one that I think you might say? Or maybe
Go
you
ahead.
forgot about?
Go
Do you
ahead.
remember a little game that was in development for a really long time that
Oh,
eventually
Horse
no, it got scrapped, but it was going to be called StarCraft Ghost.
Yes, I remember that very well. Though there
I
was actually a new breaking news, even though it was like a year ago, someone actually hacked and got that whole game, like at least what was developed of the game, and it wasn't very good.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna say
there's that.
I
But
don't think it was going to be a very good game, honestly, but I was still kind of excited for it.
I'd love to see someone make a game similar to like you would see like a StarCraft or even a Warcraft game similar to something like the style of like Final Fantasy VII Remake, that kind of style game. I think it'd be really good.
Yeah,
I'm surprised they haven't made something like that. But yeah, StarCraft Ghost is a great example of a game that was exciting. And I mean, I've been spoiled. I was thinking a lot of the games that I play, it took a long time for them to come out of the game, or they came out of the game that was just, you know, crap, for lack of a better word. And, they ultimately redeemed themselves. So, like, Counter Strike, for any competitive, shooter person out there, Counter Strike 1.6 was like, the cream of the crop for the longest time. They came out with Counter Strike Source, and it was not very good.
Everyone
It kind
hated
of
CS Source.
Yeah, CS Source was not very good. And then they came out with CS:GO later and redeemed themselves, especially with some of the stuff they've implemented there. So that's a game where I've been spoiled. But yeah, StarCraft Ghost is another one, and StarCraft 2. I mean, for the longest time, it was like maybe they're not doing another StarCraft. Maybe they're gonna stick with that. And now, granted, StarCraft 2 is not ever at the pinnacle of popularity as StarCraft 1 is, especially in the Korean scene, the highly competitive scene. But it still has a very good following. And actually, I might be totally off. And maybe they're, I mean, they've been doing it for 10 years now. So it's obvious that it has some degree of following. I think as long as you look at those as almost two separate games, it's good. But yeah, I've been spoiled in that regard. But Penta, what was the other game you were thinking of? Because there's one that I'm surprised you didn't mention yet.
Oh, I have one. I was
You
thinking
don't have
got-
any more?
both of you.
you gotta say what you were thinking first, Fleming. For me,
For
I'm
you?
interested. Yeah.
Super Mario RPG? Didn't you want another one of those?
Yeah,
Aw.
but
Oh,
I
don't
think
y'all.
I've given up on that. Square and Nintendo, if you're listening, we have, just saying. Yeah, I mean,
But like, imagine something on like you mentioned him in one of your earlier episodes on Geno specifically, or something like that.
like
Yeah, exactly.
in that universe, yeah,
Yeah.
that's really what I want. Like,
Like it's
I
you
love
follow Geno, and
I
then Mario maybe shows up.
That'd
yeah,
be
I
great.
love the Paper Mario games. Like,
Yeah.
but it's a different universe, it's a different
Yep.
setting.
Yep.
So
It's a soul successor,
yes, not
not a direct successor.
yeah. But yeah, you're right. I would love anything involving Super Mario RPG in that universe to exist again. Real quick, and then Tom, you can go again. I just wanted to mention when they were developing Resident Evil 4, there were like 4 different versions that were spoken about and like displayed before they ended up on the final version. And it would have been really cool if they were all like different games that ended up coming out at another time. Like one of the demos that they put out, it was at an E3 in like 2003 or 2004. They called it the Hook Hand version or the Hook Man version or something like that. And it was Leon going into a castle, but he was inflicted with some sort of disease and would end up fighting like ghosts and having hallucinations, and it was way more like paranormal than they ended up going. And I was like, I'd love to play that. That sounds awesome. That sounds like something I'd be really into. And there was another version, I think they called it like the Fog version, where he was in like medieval Europe as opposed to like not Spain, where Resident Evil
Ooh.
4 actually ended up. Where it was clearly Spain and everyone spoke Spanish, but it was not Spain. Trademark.
See, that as an idea sounds almost like what was done. I'm just going to bring up the example of like I remember the Zelda games on Game Boy Color, Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages,
Mm-hmm.
where it was a similar game, but each of them was different because it had a different sort of mechanic and a little bit different sort of theme. And yeah, I mean that sounds like a great idea, Pinto. Like if they were just to kind of release the variations.
Yeah.
I mean, Pokemon is like the utmost example of that. Let's be honest. But
It's funny you mentioned Pokemon. Now, granted, I if this topic was 2 months ago, the one that I was thinking of would have been better, but they've announced it
Oh,
as of
yes.
since. But Pokemon Snap, hello.
Yeah.
That was one of
Hello.
the greatest games ever. Hello. I loved Pokemon Snap as a kid, and for years they didn't, ever intend to do another Pokemon Snap, and it was such a it put you in that universe, but like was a totally different game
It was
than
unique, yeah.
playing Pokemon. It was really unique, and like it was cool because like it was built on a character from the TV show that was almost more of a just kind of off, character. He wasn't around all the time anyway. He showed up maybe a couple times throughout the series that I remember. Um, and they built a game around him because they're like, hey, that was kind of a cool idea. Let's try it out. And I loved that game as a kid. But then, last month they did announce that they are coming out with a Pokemon Snap 2. So, that's kind of gone away, and I'm super excited for that now. But yeah, that's something I was thinking of.
So I thought of the ultimate example while we were talking, and I don't think it's a game that you guys have really played too much, but Half-Life 3.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
God.
Half-Life 3
I
confirmed.
think Alex is the furthest you'll get.
Yeah, and I don't have a
Closest,
VR
rather.
system, so I will never be
Yeah.
able to play that.
Yeah,
That's
this
gotten
died
great
down in
reviews.
recent years, though. I mean, I remember 5 years ago or so, something around that. There was always those jokes about like, you know, coming like into some like it basically was starting from something and working your way to Half-Life 3. Like, Gaben is doing this, and then this is happening, and then this plus this equals this in Half-Life 3, and it's like what? So there was a lot of that kind of joking going around, but I haven't seen that in recent years.
Well, Half-Life 2 is over 10 years ago. I mean, I
Oh, yeah,
remember
I know.
playing it in 2008,
Yeah,
and I think it
I know.
came out well before that. But
Yeah.
still a great game, a great series. I would absolutely love to see some more of Gordon and his crowbar.
And the little crab guys that
Oh,
attack
yeah.
there, like,
The
yeah.
head crabs.
Head
Ugh,
crabs, yeah.
terrible.
Yeah,
But
that was a good
another
series.
another one I also think you guys might not have played or enjoyed as much as I have. NFL Street.
NBA Jam.
NBA
Oh.
Jam. Listen, NBA Jam was actually basketball. It was 2-on-2 basketball, but it was basketball.
Yeah.
NFL Street, you got like bonus points for jumping off of walls and doing tricks and throwing the football between your legs and
You mean that doesn't
scoring.
really happen?
You know what? I wish it would.
What?
How awesome
Oh.
would that be?
I would
Can-
watch that.
Guys, why isn't there like an NFL equivalent of the Harlem Globetrotters?
That's an excellent question. I would
Yeah.
love to see an NFL Harlem
I don't know.
Globetrotters.
I don't
Where's
know.
the man on the ladder throwing the football to the other man?
Well,
bouncing
the,
on a
the Washington
trampoline.
team now is there, right? Isn't that their name now?
Yes.
They just announced
Washington
the
football.
Washington football team.
Well, yep.
Ooh, yeah.
Progress.
I had another game example. Now, granted, this will probably come at some point, but given how long it's been, it's kind of like this is strange. But Grand Theft Auto is another series where people are like,
Yeah.
I think it'll
"Where's the
happen,
next one?"
but yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's been like 7 years, something like
Seven,
that.
7 or 8, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Ain't
something like 7 or 8 years now.
It must have- yeah.
Something like that.
And
And
the
like,
new Elder Scrolls.
yeah, and the new Elder Scrolls. But like both of those genres or both of those games, rather, not genres. Both of those
Yes,
games are
7.
great examples of milking a game for all it's worth. Like
Oh yeah.
the GTA series, they came out with GTA 5 first, of course. Then they came out with online. Then they started doing all the various like things like extra missions in online, getting the actors back to do more stuff online. All
There's
those
a ton
things.
of content in the online
They have
game.
released
Yeah.
it. I know there is. And then they've also released it to like every possible system, rebuilding the game into, those various systems. So they've definitely, I feel like at this point, kind of milked the game for everything it's got, and they really need to come out with a new one. But I think the new one's probably not even close. Now, granted, maybe they will come out with it, knocking on wood there. They will come out with it, but I don't see it happening for at least
Not
another
anytime
2
soon.
years.
I
Yeah.
have to imagine it's their next project, but I think
Yeah.
a lot of what Rockstar does is I could be completely wrong, but I think they shift their developers around. And since Red Dead Redemption 2 is relatively recent, I
Mhm.
think a
that's
lot
true.
of the work went into that. And then, of course, there's online content that's being built out for
Yeah.
that too. So
That is true.
I think I've heard that there's work being done on the next Grand Theft Auto, and I feel confident that it'll
and
be out. It's
that's the
just going to
thing.
be
It will come out, but I think, if we expand the topic a bit, there's also been significant delays, and I think that stems from the idea of, building a store, like a base story in games, but then
All the
going all
chaos
out with
outside.
DLCs and everything else you can, loot boxes, other missions and other things you can buy online to get the car in the case of GTA 5 or whatever. So that's what we're seeing a lot of game devs do instead of charge like $100 for their game or whatever. So
Well, they've said, like, I think it was an exec or a former exec that recently came out and said that it's more lucrative and it's cheaper for them to just make another port of the
Yep.
game rather than make a whole new game right now. They'll make more money off of it in the long
Yep.
run. Which makes
exactly.
complete sense. It's disappointing for the fans. I mean, I won't lie, I will probably play it on the PlayStation 5 because
I will.
Because
I'm
it's
a
GTA
sucker.
5. It's a wonderful game.
yeah,
It really was. Like even their base story was amazing.
yeah.
I would consider playing it on a PS5 just for the online content, because that's
Yes.
one thing I have not been able to enjoy.
I would love to do the online stuff, but it's hard without a dedicated party.
What we should do is, as a group, we should all play it on the PC
Yeah.
and get together as a dedicated party and play.
I
Because the
think,
biggest issue I had was we originally had it on Xbox 360. I'm dating myself because I haven't owned an Xbox since the Xbox 360. But the online functionality wasn't there. It just wasn't a stable
Yeah.
enough connection. We would get kicked all the time. The party was unreliable, which sucks because the heists online are so much fun. Heists
That
are
was my
amazing.
favorite part of
Yeah,
the
Epic,
actual game.
God, it was the best. Those
Epic
heists in
Games
the game,
came out.
yeah.
Got it for free. I think
Yeah.
all 4 of us here I mean, I had it before on Steam already.
I
but
got
Epic
it
Games
when
had
it was
recently.
free.
I
We
think
absolutely
we
should,
did.
because the heists of that game, and like again, all the new heists they're coming out with are incredible. You have to pay for a lot of that stuff, but the ones that they've come out with are really good. So yeah, absolutely, we should definitely do that.
I think a lot of it's through unlockables. So like if you play the game
Yeah.
enough and you get enough of the currency
Yeah.
in game, you just pay for
That,
it.
yeah, that's true, but it takes a lot of effort to get. I
They're
mean, I have
giving-
quite a bit of currency because I played like 100 hours of it.
I don't know if it's just on Sony because they have like a partnership with them now. They announced it on the showcase, but they're doing something where you get X amount of dollars per month until I think the launch and release of it on the PS5. I think it might be $1 million every month, but I don't know if it's just exclusive to PlayStation players. Do you guys remember Bully?
Yeah.
Our game.
That game was awesome.
They never did a sequel to that, did they?
I think, didn't they? I thought there was
I
a
don't
Bully
know.
too.
I don't think they did, because they've released updated versions on the Switch of
Yeah.
the original and stuff like that, but I've never seen anything of Bully 2.
Huh.
Yeah.
And I have to wonder, Megan, if so much of that is the controversy of the game
Yeah.
itself.
Probably.
Yeah.
But it was
I
it
mean,
was fairly innocuous.
Rockstar is not one to shy away from controversy,
No.
let's be honest, but
Yeah,
That was
that was, yeah.
something.
I
I
loved beating up the mean kids, though.
I
Come on.
know. I would love to see, I don't know how you gentlemen feel, another Conkers, like an updated version of Conkers Bad
I
Fur
think
Day.
Fleming would
that was
be
the
into
other
that.
one. Yeah,
Never played it.
I was thinking of that too. I just haven't gotten to it yet. Conker's Bad Fur Day
Yeah.
was my childhood. It probably shouldn't have been, but it was my childhood.
Nope.
And it was one of the greatest games I've ever played. I didn't personally own it. My friend Bob owned it, and when the Great Mighty Pooh came out and sang, I was smiling, beaming ear to ear, because like I mean, do you guys, Tom? You said you haven't played it. Do you know the premise of that game?
I have heard it before. I just don't really recall offhand.
The premise of that game is that Conker is trying to basically get to his girlfriend so he can have relations with her.
That's what I thought. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. That's basically the game. And it's obvious that like the people that were the people that created it are very they're not quite to this level, but it's the closest I'm getting, like a Simpsons, maybe South Park kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Like that's where they kind of fell between those two. And like they made a wonderful game and they never came out with another version of it. And like it was on the N64. Like
And that was a rare
Nintendo.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they brought us Banjo-Kazooie and
Yeah.
Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
And this is what they gave us.
And that game is so amazing. I think they
It's
actually came out with the time. I think there are.
Okay.
Find it and play it because it's such a wonderful game. And if not, if you don't want to take the time to play it, at least go look for the Great Mighty Pooh song because
I've definitely heard of that before. I think that's like
Yes.
some sort of iconic gaming moment because I know I've
Yes.
seen the visuals. I don't know if I've actually watched the scene itself, but I've definitely seen the character that you're talking about.
And I'm sure there's so much that like went over my head playing that when I did. So it would be nice to like replay it and see it.
I mean, one of the lines in the Great Mighty Pooh is a huge supply of Tish comes from my chocolate starfish. So so it's a vulgar game, but like as a little kid, like you didn't pick up on that really any
No.
of that aside from the fact you were fighting a poo monster and it was funny. So I highly encourage anyone listening to find it in 64 and then probably go pay like $100 or more on eBay for this game because it's so rare now and play. It's like a Final Fantasy Tactics. That game became super expensive on PlayStation.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, now because of it's like it being on Android and stuff, maybe not quite as much and iOS, but it used to be super expensive. I know it was like 70, $80, and obviously the game didn't cost that when it came out for like
You
used
can-
copies. Yeah.
Get it on eBay for like $22.
There you go. Find it in 64 and you're good to go.
Conkers?
Conkers, yeah.
Really? That's
It seems relatively
very
cheap.
reasonable.
Yeah.
That is actually really cheap. But yeah, that's another great game. Good call out, Megan. That was a wonderful game.
Can I?
Can I?
Okay, you go.
I just wanted to throw out one that I was reasonably certain was going to come up from both you and Fleming. Chrono Trigger.
Oh,
well, Chrono
yeah.
Trigger had Chrono
Just-
Cross. So
Yeah,
that's why I
but
didn't
that
mention
was still back in 2001, man. That's almost 20 years ago. Or
Yeah,
it may have
I
been
actually
20
never
years
played
ago. I think they
Chrono
just
Cross.
posted that it's like the 20-year anniversary of Chrono
That
Cross.
Wow.
sounds about right.
Jeez.
And
Yeah.
I personally never played Chrono Cross.
It was
It's
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. But it wasn't the same, right? Like
No.
No,
the style of game felt very.
it's
different.
actually like the story is kind of difficult to follow, and like it
Yeah.
doesn't bounce off of Chrono Trigger that much.
That's
So
what I thought. Yeah.
It's
So-
Chrono Trigger, amazing. Chrono Cross, fun game.
Chrono Cross, pretty
Um,
good.
Pretty good,
Well, it's the
fun
same
game.
as like Final Fantasy Tactics, like the Final Fantasy series. Even if they didn't create like a Final Fantasy Tactics, like they did a little bit more in their Android
Way
ports of
advanced,
it. Yeah.
there's-
And their other ones, but like they didn't create more games like that in a whole new world, a whole new set of characters. So
Well, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance and Final Fantasy Tactics Advance 2
Yeah.
in the Game Boy Advance. But that was
Oh.
again, it's like you're an Ivalice, but you're kids, and it just wasn't the same.
No.
yeah,
Tactics was dark and gritty. Tactics Advance was kind of storybooky. It was still fun. I enjoyed it, but just different.
yeah.
You know what game I wish had come out and been good?
Quay.
Daisy.
Yep, there it is. There
waiting
it
for
is.
Every time, man.
That was the
Um,
game I was so excited for, and it's just poopy.
Yeah.
We all expected the best and got the worst, and that's which did.
I did not expect the game to go as poorly as it did. That should go down in like history as one of the worst development of a game ever. Like
It's being documented on this podcast right now constantly.
it is being constantly documented.
This
But go out and
this
buy
could
it.
also be called like the Daisy Shame podcast.
If we start that podcast, it just begins with that old nun from Game of Thrones.
Shame.
Ding, 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 ding.
Shame.
But that means that we'd have to play it more to figure out more things that we hate about it. I don't think Tom could get past being eaten by wolves.
Thumbs up, thumbs down, man.
I thought of two other games that, again, simpler games, but would love New Age sequels to, and I think I'm going to speak it into existence.
Ooh.
The first one, some of you may recall from the Nintendo 64, Wave Race 64.
Oh man.
I just love it for the
Okay.
music, man.
Great music, beautiful ocean environments.
Yeah, can you Nintendo, if you make it, can you get Cory Wong to do the soundtrack, please?
Oh yeah, Cory Wong, get the Fearless Flyers, get the Wolfpack.
Yep.
I mean, you spoke Tony Hawk's Pro Skater into existence.
That
about,
game better have a bomb
months ago.
soundtrack, by the way.
I'm just saying, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What's the other
both
game?
both of those games are of the same era too, so
Yeah.
I think it's ripe for revival. The other game, also in the sports genre, SSX.
Oh,
Yes.
I loved SSX.
Yeah.
SSX had some of the coolest mechanics, and snowboarding's a pretty simple kind of idea. You just kind of go
Yeah.
downhill, you hit some hills, you do some tricks off the hills, you grind on some rails, whatever. No, you get boosts from doing your tricks. You get more boosts from doing bigger tricks.
You do the worm on your snowboard.
You do the worm on your snowboard. You do loop-de-loops. You go off giant jumps. It's amazing. And the characters, crazy anime hero from Japan.
And can we talk
at
about
least-
how they had some great voice actors? They had David Arquette and Lucy Liu doing voices in their games. Like, what is
Really?
that nonsense? Yeah. David Arquette did Eddie, the guy with the afro. Lucy Liu
Eddie.
did Elise, like the posh, fashionista girl.
The
Huh.
Canadian.
Yep.
Was it? I think there was a Kimiko too, if I'm remembering right.
I think it was like
Like-
Kaori or something like that.
Kaori, that was yeah. They had really it was kind of like how Overwatch is, right? Where you kind of have your roles, and then you developed a character for the role, and they put a lot of personality into the character. That's how
Yeah.
SSX was. And there's it's a snowboarding game. You didn't have to do that. It's just people going down hills doing tricks. But it made it so much fun.
Yeah, and it was really well developed because you could punch people during the race.
Yeah.
And then they'd get mad at you and your relationship status with them would change. They'd be like, they used to be your friend, but now they're neutral towards you because you punched them in the face while you were racing.
I totally forgot that you could do that. I literally used to play SSX, and I didn't have SSX Tricky, or I'm pretty sure there was an SSX 2 and 3 and all that.
Three was my
that's
personal
stuff.
favorite, but yeah.
But I used to just play that game over and over and over again, just having fun trying to improve my score, when I had nothing better to do. It's so much fun. And you would unlock the new characters.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, that makes me think of one other game, which I think we've talked about before a little bit. Twisted Metal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Not enough room for the Demolition Derby of Champions anymore in
I
the
guess
game.
not.
Weird, not knockoff, but Nintendo version of Vigilante 8.
I remember, and then Vigilante Second Offense. If you ever played,
Oh yes.
my cousin had that one on his N64, and we used to play that.
Yeah.
Now that you brought up Twisted Metal, it makes me think of Burnout and how much I would love a new Burnout game. That game kind of went off the rails for me because it was a racing game that involved crashes, but then it turned into a crashing game that involved races, and I was like, you went too far, man. The crashes were cool, but I was still there for the racing. But great soundtracks.
It's all about the near misses. You had to nearly miss the crash, and then you got a boost from that, and then you would go faster.
It's true.
It's a weird game.
I loved them though, man.
I don't blame you. I mean, it was something different, right? Racing games are just all too often just here's your car, soup up your car
Yeah.
rates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
it's something different.
I mean, if it were to be made today, you know, it was made by EA, so it'd be like, please pay $5 to unlock the next car. And I'd be like, okay, yeah, I don't want to play this game. But
Buy a
Never
loot
mind.
box to see if you get the super ultra rare engine.
yeah, I'll just hook up my PlayStation 2 and go play Burnout 3 and be happy
Yeah.
with that.
I've got one more because I was writing down ideas as we were going, and I'm totally cool if any of you guys want to jump me if you've got something else.
No, give it to us.
Have any of you played Killer Instinct?
Yeah.
Yes.
That was supposed to be the competitor to Mortal Kombat back in the day.
Yeah, I remember.
Talk about a game that was hard to master.
All of those games were hard to master.
Well, that game you could pull off like 150 combos and like stuff
Yeah.
like that. I mean, it was ridiculous, but again, really cool characters, nicely developed, system for a fighting game, and just fell by the wayside. Mortal Kombat took over.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat, Tekken, all that kind of stuff.
Didn't they put out a Killer Instinct on the Xbox One?
Yeah, they did.
They did, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it did particularly well,
No.
unfortunately, but
I remember going to Wegmans as a child, and this is back when Wegmans had a video rental section. They had a Killer Instinct arcade cabinet there that you could play for free. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. I just remember I was terrible at it. It was real, because I've never been good at fighting games. But I was like, this game's so cool.
I just remember I had a friend who got a version of Killer Instinct on the Nintendo 64, and we were playing it, and he had clearly played it more than I had, or figured it out, mastered it more than I had, and he could pull off all these huge combos and just knock your character into the ground, up into the air, and just keep beating on them until they were dead. And I could barely throw a kick at the right time. It was such a game that was really, really difficult, and the AI was very tough too.
Mm-hmm.
But I just remember, just to get a little personal for a minute, when I got my Super Nintendo as a child in 4th grade or something like that, 3rd grade maybe, the only reason I got Killer Instinct was because it was a bundle that came with Killer Instinct. My mom was so vehemently opposed to me owning this game because there was jelly blood all over the place in that game.
Chop people's heads off stuff. Yeah. I actually thought of one more.
Yeah.
We mentioned on the podcast before, so we don't have to jump too heavily into this, but I want another Rock Band or Guitar Hero so badly.
I think it'll come around eventually.
It probably will. It's going to be one of those that the whole idea of playing together in person again like that.
Once the COVID ends, I bet it'll happen. Harmonic's going to be like, this is our time. Everyone wants to see each other. Let's do it.
But you're right that it's not the same when you're playing online, and everything. But one of my favorite memories of college was us playing Rock Band and then Rock Band 2, Guitar Hero 4, right? That's the one with the drums. 3? I couldn't remember. Sorry.
No, 4 was the one with the drums.
Yeah, 4. That it's such. Everyone's gone online, and you can still have a great time playing, especially with good friends. But there was when you have a party or whatever, you're like, hey, let's come have some friends over to play Rock Band or whatever. And another friend comes over, you instantly have some way to kind of bond together and do something. So it's a really good fun activity. I'm surprised that the Switch, for example, which I would say is the most collaborative play together kind of thing with all the various Mario games and Mario Party, Mario Tennis, those ones, they have not come out with their own version of one of those. I wonder if it's music licensing that causes concerns or what. But
I think that's got to be part of it, because I think there's probably some cost offsetting of whatever it costs to get the licenses versus sales. And I think for a while they were booming so hard. They started out by just doing covers of all the songs.
Yeah, I remember.
The original Guitar Hero had
that.
almost no original music.
Yeah.
I have to wonder if that's the point. But in person, half the fun was watching the look on everyone's face when you played a really hard song, or even when you were playing just a really fun song.
Look over and Pinto's sweating up a storm because you made him play
Painkiller on drums.
I was
Oh,
thinking any Panic
hey,
at the
we-
Disco, right? Wasn't that the hard ones where you had?
Dream Theater,
Yeah, Dream. Yep.
Panic
Oh,
Attack. Yeah.
Panic Attack. Yeah,
That
I mean,
song is not meant to be played with a single bass pedal. Okay.
no, when I mean, Pinto and I were kind of the guys that would play the drums, so we would be throwing it on like expert or at the very least hard mode, and then we're like smacking. We broke a couple of those bass pedals playing.
Guys, I have a metal rock band drum pedal because I've broken so many plastic ones.
Oh Jesus!
I do
So,
too.
Yeah.
But that's something I'd like to see, and that's just something I want to mention.
I do have to say though, I not too long ago purchased a Guitar Hero, or not Guitar, Rock Band set for the PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
So I have the peripherals for that, and actually there was Guitar Hero Live, which I think was within the last 3 years for PlayStation 4.
Mhm.
And it breaks your brain if you know how to play regular Guitar Hero, because it's 6 keys and it's 3x3.
Yeah.
And you have to do like chord combinations and stuff, which is real guitar moves, but it's very hard to do on the fly if you're used to just having the set of like 5 up and down. So,
we went down nostalgic lane there.
Yeah, that was nice. Thank you for humoring me.
It was very joyful.
Ah, shucks. I think that's about time for us. It was a good discussion, guys. If you like us and enjoy listening to us, you can follow us online on the social media at JoyPad Pod. There, I did it. On Facebook, Twitter, which is still hopefully active, Instagram. Are we on anything else, Pinto?
Nope.
And
all right,
the
those are
YouTubes.
But
and the YouTubes.
I would like to say, what would really help us as a podcast, and I'm not saying this to our host, I'm saying this to people who listen, leave us a review. Not just a rating. Leave us a review with some kind words, because that's something that really, really helps podcasts get out there, which we're, trying to do. Even if you're just like, it's good, I like it. Hey, man, you wrote some words. And even if you want to be like, hey, it's a 4-star podcast, I'd prefer 5, but,
I'll take 3.
You know what? If they give us a 1, but give us constructive criticism about
that's
it.
important, actually. Perfect. And then we take it to heart, and they come back, and they go, you know what? You're a 5 now.
Yeah.
Give us a 1, I'll find you.
It's like She's All That. We'll take off the glasses and let our hair down. They'll be like, you're amazing.
We'll hack your Steam account if you wish for 1.
If you have a topic that you want us to discuss, if there's something you're into and you want to know how we feel about it, let us know. You can send us an email at joypadpod.
You weren't just looking that up on your phone right now.
I totally am, because I don't remember what it is. I am professional. But yes, send us an email or comment on Facebook or Twitter. Let us know if there's anything you do want to hear about.
Yes.
Clap back at me about my Final Fantasy VII Remake opinions. throw spaghetti at a computer and photograph it.
I do want to note that Tom finally went back and listened to that episode and said, I can hear your blood pressure rising throughout that episode. I was like, yeah, I was getting salty, but I admit it. I freely admit that I was salty that episode.
If I've made this one comment, we had tons and tons and tons of positive things to say about that game for many, many weeks. And I felt, I don't know, a little bit undercut by the ending, and I was taking it out of that episode, and I apologize that I had the reactionary
unrelated
attitude.
topic, Tom.
I know. But I'm just saying, for the record, I was being very reactionary. I was very in my feelings. I was not super joyful, and
that's not how we are. We're supposed to stay joyful.
I know.
Yeah.
I want to stay joyful. I want to believe. So with the news that part 2 is underway, we will not have to worry about that not getting a sequel. So I'm putting that, as Ren and Stimpy would say, joy, 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 back down in my heart.
Yeah. So look forward to our Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 episode in about 2 years.
Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 sucks, and I'm going to tell you why.
There it is.
Sorry to elaborate.
Anyway,
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Tom, do you want to
Well,
sign us off?
be like me today and not like me on that episode. And stay joyful, my friends. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.